Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly settle down. I'll take 2-3 minutes more. 2-3 minutes more to just tell you what's happening. In the meanwhile, some of the people are enjoying their refreshments. Let me start the evening with very, very happy Onam to you. I see some nice dressed women in Onam thing. It's really wonderful to see you. Very happy Onam to you, madam. Very happy Onam Ranjani Mani, madam. Good. And happy Miladi Nabi, and also happy very Teachers' Day. I think cannot have a program on a Teachers' Day and go. So that's why we said we'll have it here. And a lot of people today are not able to come because they're still celebrating. And I'm quite sure a large number of people will be watching it online. Those who are watching it online, as usual, if you have any questions, there's a QR code and you can just scan them and send your questions. The speaker has agreed to respond to all your questions. Only we request you, please address the question, what is relevant to the theme, what is being discussed today, and what is being presented today. Before we move on, the speaker and the chairman both arrive. Let me tell you what's happening in MMA. On 30th of September, we have Ram K. Vijayan is talking at, we started a new thing. This is called the TimeLinks Golden Edge Series, maximizing the power of perception, right lens to the right decisions. It is happening at Tanish Annanagar. We are doing it every month there. It's happening on 13th of September. 18th, we have very, very interesting milestone event for MMA. That is 50th edition of Read and Grow series. So it's not easy. Without a break, we're done for the last 50 months continuously. And the 50th Golden Jubilee episode is going to happen on 18th of September. And what we are doing, we are also commemorating all the 49 editions, what has been done earlier. We are going to give you a link with the video. You can watch it. Each one of them outstanding masterclass. And if you want to know all about management, you have to just go through that once in a while when you get a time. I can assure you, it's one of the final series of MMA is the Read and Grow series. The 50th edition, we have got the 3 people who are facilitating this series over the last 50 episodes are going to be coming there, talking, and also recollect of some of the earlier episodes where they found it made a lot of change the people and whom they got the feedback. Srinivas Ramprasad, Director CAT Center, Sangeeta Sumesh Sharma, she is a Chartered Accountant, Babu Krishnamurthy. They are the people who have been facilitating this series without a fail the last 50 months, and they'll be coming together to talk. We thought it's good to honor all the 3 of them together and a special episode. Please don't miss it. It's happening on 18th of September. Then on 20th is again our flagship event, 14th Kevin Care MMA Syndication Innovation Award. It's happening at IIT Research Park. The invite has already been sent. Mr. Dinesh is the Executive Chairman of TVS Supply Chain Solutions and former President of CIA India is going to be there, chief guest. Then on 24th, again, we have resilience in trade and aligned business opportunities, paradox and tariff of Trump. I won't say Trump tariffs. So it's happening at Andhra Chamber. It's happening on 24th September. Then 27th September. Again, we have another event on the Data Trust Imperative Technology. Because today data is very important. The Data Trust Act, which has been introduced by the Government of India, if you all have to be aware, especially the businesses, you must protect the data. If anybody infringing the data, and the penalties are very, very high. It's good to know what is the Data Protection Act. Now Indian Act is going to be put in place for various corporates, individuals, various organizations. We have one-day conclave. It's a paid conclave. We charge very, very nominal fee. Please, happening from 9:30 to 4:30 p.m. And Managing Director of CPCL has kindly agreed, Mr. Shankar, to be chief guest to inaugurate this conclave. It's happening on 27th September at MMA. Then again, 27th September, we also have a talk at Institute of Foundryman, Southern Region. On Monday, 6th October, we have Mr. Krishnan. We are going to be discussing on his work, being ordinary and doing extraordinary things. He's the president of TCS, and we are going to be discussing. Then on 9th of October, again, a nice event. It's all about family businesses. India and SMEs, almost 80% of SMEs today on family businesses. They go through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of issues in family businesses. But we are talking a subject which is very, very interesting to the many families. That is setting up family offices abroad, outside the country. Because the family office setting up, it helps you in many ways. It's a big content by itself. Please do come. We are doing jointly with Great Lake Institute of Management. It's happening on 9th of October. Then we are 23rd October. Alex, one of the finest founder CEO of Strategizer. I think many will walk miles to listen to him. And we are doing jointly with the Thai. And this gentleman, if you have to attend this event anywhere, you will be paying almost 2 to 3 lakhs individually. We have brought him to MMA. Please come and listen to Alex Osterwalder. He is the founder CEO of Strategizer. what's happening. So the another event is on 27th October, our management student convention, where 1,000 plus students and some 20,000 watched on live. This is all the program, what's happening in MMA. So please block your diary, make it convenient. Coming to today's event, education beyond building global futures for the next generation. And I know the episode what's happening, we always say VUCA world is happening, a lot of uncertainty, volatility and many things happening on VUCA. It happened in education also. We thought it will happen more in only the businesses, but in education also a lot of uncertainty. Not only in the USA, all other countries where you go, because of dollar price increase, because other impact, the people who are paying the money is really impacted the financial position. Not only that, people, some of the people who are studying in other part of the country should also know the cross-cultural issues and what you should do or what not to do and how to do something and where you have to get out of it, what to do. There are so many things all about your all about your well-being in a country where you are studying, particularly in USA. The gentleman who is there is an authority on the subject. He's going to be talking to us. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome Mr. Nadadur S. Kumar, Attorney of Law, US Immigration. He has been here. And Siva Kumar, Mr. Siva Kumar has been chairing the session. Siva Kumar, member, MMA Managing Committee Director, Roots. A warm round of applause to a distinguished speaker and the chairman, please. It's an interesting event, as I mentioned to you earlier. And if you have any questions, there's a QR code on the screen which will be shown there. And just scan the QR code and send your questions, because we don't want to hand over the mic because you take onto the podium. It's difficult because we only limited hour and limited time, and a lot of people will be having a lot of questions, I'm quite sure. Again, once again, I warmly welcome all the viewers watching this program live from all over the world, especially India. And please send your questions. The speaker will be happy to answer to all your questions. All those who are watching, sitting here, please, you can just scan the QR code and send your questions. And the distinguished speaker will be able to answer to all your questions. It's indeed a pleasure for me to welcome you once again to this evening. And also, once again, very happy Onam. And it's a very auspicious day. And I think this program is very, very relevant today on a Teacher's Day. The students should know more about what to do there. So it's good to have. Now I request Siva Kumar and Nandan Kumar. Before that, let me have can I have the AV of both the speakers? Let me introduce the distinguished speakers for this evening, please.
Mr. C. Siva Kumar, member of the MMA Managing Committee, is Director of Roots Industries India Ltd and partner at TimeLinks. A strategic entrepreneur, Mr. Siva Kumar has transformed SMEs through asset-light manufacturing and customer-focused retail ventures, with his HR initiatives recognized in leading business journals. Mr. Siva Kumar has won several national and state honors, including the INC India Award for Excellence in HR Practices. Mr. Nadadur S. Kumar, attorney at law and US immigration attorney, has over 3 decades of experience in law and academia. A Rotary Scholar from India, holds master's degrees in economics, an MBA from UCLA, and a JD from Loyola Law School. Mr. Kumar served nearly 20 years at USC, handling immigration matters while maintaining a global private practice. A founding member of the Hindu Temple Society of Southern California, Mr. Kumar is active in pro bono legal work and various professional associations.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a profile of the distinguished speaker for this evening. I now request Mr. Siva Kumar to set the context and take it forward. Mr. Siva Kumar.
Thank you, Group Captain. And I'd like to welcome our speaker today, Mr. Nadadur S. Kumar. For a great evening, most of us want to listen to him to understand better. So before I start my formal introduction and to set the theme right, I need to wish you all a happy Onam and also happy Teachers' Day and Miladun Nabi. I also need to tell you that about a decade or 2 decades back, I used to admire a lady, Ranjini Manian, who's here, who's running a great company called Global Adjustments. That's a very unique company in the sense that there were a lot of migrants from different countries, be it Korea, be it a Japanese guy, or be it people from many of the Asian countries. And they would find it very difficult to adjust to the Chennai weather or to understand where to reach out for a doctor or where to get a servant maid or where to get a driver and things like that. And she was running one of the finest companies called the Global Adjustments. Now, thanks Manian to be here today. And that's connected to the topic that we're going to speak today. While she made sure that the foreigners are very well settled here, here's Mr. Nadadur, who's going to make the Indians settle down well in the USA. Okay, so it's a reverse. So it's the topic today is education and beyond, building global futures for the next generations. Now, when you see Mr. Kumar, Nadadur Kumar, you'll be wondering what that word Nadadur really means. It means and it symbolizes nurturing and abundance. Both are very apt to his profession. Nurturing many people who want to migrate and create an abundance in themselves and with their family. So I think your father has kept a nice name, or that's your family name. It symbolizes nurturing and abundance. It is indeed my privilege to deliver opening remarks at this very special presentation on the theme Education and Beyond, Building Global Futures for the Next Generation, organized by MMA this evening. I thank Mr. Nadadur S. Kumar, Attorney at Law, U.S. Immigration Attorney, for accepting our request to address our members at a very, very short notice on such a vital issue which has occupied the mind space of so many Indians, particularly the students who dream of green pastures in the USA and their parents who watch the current developments in USA with interest and concern. American universities, be it MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley, continue to attract Indian students with their world-renowned programs in STEM, business, and data analytics, offering access to advanced research facilities and multicultural environment. The ability to pursue options, particularly at the master level, and the expansive research attract large number of Indian students to leverage these opportunities at a gateway to H-1B employment and long-term career development. While the competitive admission pool and rigorous academic expectations warrant careful preparation and planning, USA universities also introduce dual degrees and research collaborations with global institutions. Financial aid, merit scholarship, and graduate assistantship help offset tuition fees, making the prospect feasible for many aspirants. These opportunities position the USA as a future-proof destination for Indian students seeking academic excellence and international career exposure. As the visa controls are getting tighter, and with all the tariff and the geopolitical situations coming up, today's topic is going to be very, very interesting. Also, most Indians who settle down there feel after the tariff, most of the prices have gone up and they need to shed another $300 to $500 to buy the Indian stuff there. I'm sure it's all a very temporary phase and may not last a long time. And in the next few months, things will get better for India and for the immigrants there. To gain more insights on how to navigate these challenges, we are indeed fortunate that Mr. Nadadur S. Kumar, U.S. Immigration Attorney, who comes with vast experience and has been helping Indians deal with such challenges. I'm sure the input shared by Kumar would not only benefit members of MMA, but also guests from partner associations such as IOD, NIPM, NHRD, Andhra Chamber, Hypnotic Circle, ISTD, and others who joined us this evening, and viewers from all over the globe watching this program live. May I now request Mr. Kumar to share his view, please. Feel free to ask Mr. Kumar whatever you wish to add, be it EB5, be it EB2, be it whether my son who's in the US, who's already in H1B and who's already applied for the green card, can he now think about EB5? Can I apply for EB5 from here? And if I get my EB card, will my wife also come in? Or what would happen to the children? What's that deadline on the 21 years of children age? Will that be changed? All that you could ask him. And when you say 21 years eligible children, does it mean at the time of applying or at the time of getting the green card? All that will be cleared in another 45 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Siva Kumar, for that kind introduction. You know, you see there are two Kumars. When you put two Kumars together, what you're going to see today is going to be fairly explosive. Can you hear me?
Yes. He's saying three Kumars because Vijay Kumar is there.
Oh, Vijay Kumar, not to mention. It's even more explosive. And I would like to join some of you in wishing all of you a great Onam festival. And I also want to acknowledge a few people before I make my brief remarks. First of all, I would like to thank Captain Vijay Kumar. At such short notice, he put together this program. I think we have a lot to learn from you. In the US, we can do a program in 2 days. That's out of question. I do want to acknowledge my extended family here, Ranjani Manian. They have been my friends, my family, a home away from home for me in Chennai. I also had the privilege of meeting somebody, my friend from Los Angeles, Ravi Venkatraman, a graduate of IIT who came to the US and one of the rare people who came back to India. And finally, I would like to acknowledge my dear wife, Dr. Vatsala Kumar. She is a cardiologist in her own right. And she accompanies to these programs. And she knows more about immigration law than I know about cardiology. I'm very happy to have her here today. It is a very broad subject, immigration. I would like to make some broad observations and leave most of the discussion to take place by way of questions and answers. When I speak about immigration law, you all notice that there has been a lot in the news recently. In India, overseas, immigration has been at the center of the universe in all countries. Not surprisingly, because as migration becomes more prominent, people migrate to other countries, and it plays itself out in the theater of democracy. So when you're looking at recent news in the area of immigration law or US-India relations, I would like you to have a long-term perspective. At the end of the day, US is a stable democracy supported by phenomenal institutions. And these institutions provide the bulwark for the democracy to thrive and succeed. And India too is a democracy. And in democracies, leaders come and leaders leave, because at the end of the day, they are answerable to the electorate. So when we see all this news that's coming out, it is best for us to step back and take a long-term perspective and have faith in the institutions that has brought us to be who we are. The long history of US democracy speaks for itself. So having said that, what are some of the areas that I want to cover briefly today? There has been a lot of news about the F1 student visas. We have to be very careful to separate facts from fiction, from what is really happening in the US to the news coverage that you receive. These are two different things. So if you take a pause for a second and think about it, we do not have any fundamental changes in the law. The fundamental law, the Immigration and Nationality Act, has stayed stable over centuries. So what is changing is simply changes in the regulatory process or some policies that change from administration to administration. Even more phenomenal is the fact that the current administration, the current dispensation in the US, are interpreting the laws much more narrowly, with the result they're tightening the noose in terms of implementation. But nonetheless, all of this has an impact on the lives of people. So I will start by telling you the major changes in the area of student regulations. There are three changes principally. The first change is, if you look at the current regulations, Indian students or any international student for that matter, they are admitted to the US on a status called the F1 DS, which stands for duration of stay, or duration of studies rather, which essentially meant if somebody is admitted to the US, they are able to continue their studies, transfer schools, pursue their STEM OPT without ever going back to the USCIS, the body that controls the immigration administration in the US. That has been changed now. The change is the DS has been removed now. Instead, they have capped F1 students for a maximum period of 4 years. So what happens in 4 years? You have to go back to the USCIS and go through an adjudication of your application, where they get an opportunity to review what you have been doing. So therefore, it is another regulatory mechanism through which they check to make sure that you're going to the school that you're supposed to go, that you're pursuing your education, and that you're not working without authorization in the US, that you're not taking part in activities that seem to be inconsistent with the larger American interests. So the first change was that the DS has been changed to 4 years, and in 4 years you have to go back and request the immigration to review your F1 visa to decide whether they want to continue or they want to discontinue your F1 status. The second change is, when students were admitted in the past, they were given a grace period of 60 days subsequent to completion of all your school, subsequent to completion of your optional practical training. And in 60 days, you could apply for a change of status or leave the country. That has been reduced to 30 days, a shorter window. What does it all mean? It's very consequential, because F1 students who came to the US and violated their status and stayed there, not going to school, not going through proper transfer of institutions, or even those who work without legal authorization, were able to go back to India in this context and apply for a visa to come back to the US. And then the State Department, through their visa officers, will make a determination if whether or not they're going to give you a visa to come back. That was fairly a routine procedure. But now if you stay in the US and you violate the terms of your F1 regulations, at the end of 4 years, your visa gets terminated. Your stay gets terminated. So it leaves you in a very difficult situation. If you continue to stay in the US for more than 6 months, more than 180 days, you are subject to what is called as a 3-year statutory bar. It is very draconian in its implementation, and there is no exception to that. And if you stay for 1 year or longer, you are barred for 10 years from re-entering the country. So you are neither able to stay in the US because you have lost your status, or if you leave the country, you are not able to come back for 3 to 10 years, depending upon the length of time. The net result of this is F1 students cannot stay there, cannot make careless mistakes, and if they do any of this, they will get into immediate trouble with this axe falling of a 3-year or a 10-year bar, thereby completely taking away their ability to pursue any career in the US. So these are the 3 changes in the F1 visa regulations. We'll go back later to address some questions as they come up. Let's talk about the H1B. The H1B visa holders are those who come to the US, the normal conventional process. They come to the US to study. At the completion of their studies, they get what is called as an OPT, an optional practical training, which is nothing but a work authorization to work in the US in the field in which you went to school in the US. That OPT in the area of STEM fields is given for a period of 3 years. During those 3 years, you have permission to work for any number of employers as long as you are pursuing your skill level improvements, you are pursuing and learning something in your own field. What happens at the end of the 3 years? Where do you go? Now comes the H1B. H1B conventionally has been a method where all the companies used in the US extensively to recruit foreign nationals to work in many different areas, including in skilled positions. The H1B is granted for a period of 6 years, and the H1B comes in the following way. It is controlled by a numerical system. They authorize 65,000 H1B visas every year. And they add another 20,000 for people with graduate or master's degrees. So you are competing for 85,000 visas, and the number of people who apply far exceeds that supply. So therefore, they were going through a lottery system to select. And the lottery system worked regardless of your qualification. Every person who gets into the lottery has an equal opportunity to get selected. That is all looking very good. Now, the current administration has proposed changes to that lottery system. How did they change the lottery system? Now they are saying that those people with high skills, with master degrees, and with prevailing wages which are very high compared to wages in the US, they will be given a greater weighted average. They will be given a weightage and they will calculate the average. With the net result is that people with high skills, people with good wages, people with master's degrees. The system is going to be skewed in the direction of many more of them getting selected. So those with bachelor's degrees or even with master's degrees with no experience, or they do not command the wages, they are going to be at the lower end of the totem pole. That is a big change. And they are proposing these changes to become effective for the next lottery season, because the lottery season usually happens in the month of March. Now, Indians are very concerned because 70% of the H-1B visas are held by Indian nationals. Out of the 70%, most of them are in the STEM fields. So that's why you hear about companies laying off people, companies recruiting people. That system is going to change. That is all I would like to say about H-1B. H-1B, nothing has changed. The basic regulations will continue to be what they are. The lottery system will still continue, but your chances are going to get much smaller. There is another visa category called the L1 visa. It has existed for a long time. L1 visa is usually given for those who are working for multinational corporations. L1 visas enable people to transfer their employees between their own organizational branches. In other words, if there is a company in India and they own a company in the US, either they own the majority of the shares, or they have a joint ownership, or the ownership is identical in terms of its corporate structure here and in the US, then they are able to transfer people from, say, in India, as long as they work for 1 year in the previous 3 years, either in a managerial capacity, which is called the L1A, or in a specialized field called the L1B, when they have professional skills. L1 visa is also given for 6 years, sometimes for 7 years, and it is not subject to numerical controls. Second, it is not also controlled by the Labor Department in terms of the wages to be paid. But the scope of the L1 is really much bigger than most of the smaller companies can think of. You need to have an organizational structure to support an L1. In other words, if somebody is coming there as an L1E managerial employee, they take the position that there must be an organization structure, a hierarchy. There is a president, there are several vice presidents, and there are people in the STEM fields working, or any field working beneath them. And then there are some clerical staff to support them. So most of the Indians coming with smaller companies get very excited when they get the first L1 visa. But then when the time comes for them to extend, they are not able to create that organization structure because of fiscal problems or because of inability to pay the kind of wages that you're required to pay, and the L1s fail. So my request to those who are thinking of it is to think of a larger or of a bigger scope. That is the L1 visa. What other visa categories are there? O1. O1 visa is for aliens of extraordinary ability. And in the recent past, they allowed people with startups and people with some sense of what they are doing already in either bringing initial capital or in bringing employment to the US. They end up being able to get the O1 visa. We do a lot of these O1s through our office. We also do a lot of L1 multinational companies. Once you leave all of these categories, by the way, if you go on an H1, you have a 6-year limit. Unless the company sponsors you for a green card, if you're an L1, you have a 6 to 7 year limit. And that limit will also create issues for you. So now those who go there are saying What happens now? I want to get a green card. That green card is not even green in color, but it has received a lot of fame in the US. The green card is talked about in matrimonial circles. It is discussed everywhere because that signifies stability. You are now able to hang your hat and say that you can stay in the US and you can work in the US forever. What is the issue with that? These are called the immigrant visas. The immigrant visas are issued with a certain number every year, and that number is 675,000. Out of the 675,000, about 40% of them go toward the family-based immigration. About 35 goes toward the employment-based. And these are all controlled by the numbers because no country may get more than 7% of the total of the number we talked about, which is 675. Indians are placing excessive demand on a limited supply capped by the 7%. The net result is Indians have to wait for a long time to get a visa in every category. Talk about employment category, if you have master's degree, if your company sponsors you, the waiting time is now approximately 15 to 20 years. And it is still increasing the line. If you have a bachelor's degree, it is 25 years. So in some ways it has destabilized the career paths of people in such a way that they're not able to make a decision. How long are they going to stay in a state of animated suspension, for lack of a better word? They want to do something, they want to do a startup, they just got caught in this cycle, unable to decide whether they can buy a home. When they get married, where do they really establish their future? If they want to start a startup, where do they want to start their career? So these career paths for Indians have been impeded. Their freedom has been taken away to flourish professionally in whichever way they would like to pursue their careers. So if you look at the family-based petitions, it's not much brighter either. If somebody gets married to a permanent resident, the waiting time is about 4 to 5 years. If somebody gets married to a US citizen, it is an immediate relative. You can expect to get a green card in a year or two. If there are parents whose children are citizens who are sponsoring them, they too can get a green card in a year or two, no more than that. Barring this, for professionals coming from India, going to school or coming directly to pursue H1 or on L1 visas, with some degree of success with L1 with a shorter period, because those who come on an L1 can also apply through the first preference category, but even the waiting time there is 5 to 6 years. If a brother or a sister sponsors someone who is a relative of a US citizen, the waiting time is 25 years. So you can see for yourself what all this means. So finally, I would like to bring in the question of EB-5, which comes as a peerless opportunity right now among the visas to be able to get a green card quickly. EB-5 visas have been created primarily to create employment in the US and to get people to bring capital to the US. The capital can be brought even from the US sources. So this visa category EB-5 existed, that too, over a period of time, the line started getting longer for Indians. They have hit every category. The moment they move in Indians, the lines are long. So in the year 2022, the government proposed, the Congress proposed what I call it as a major step which changed the landscape of the EB-5 program. Under the EB-5 program, 10,000 visas are issued nationally. Out of that, Indians will get about 1,000. Out of the 1,000, they create reserved categories. 10% of them, that is about 100 of them, are given to people in targeted employment areas, usually expressed through what is called as the regional center. These regional centers take care of some major infrastructure, logistic projects, where the EB5 investors are pulled together and they administer the project and you get the green card. By creating this reserved category with a 10%, that changed the landscape. Similarly, if you go to a regional center which is engaging in a rural project, you get 20%. That means you get 200 visas every year for India. 2% for infrastructure related projects. But these numbers are all current for Indians. There is no waiting time. With the result, if somebody invests this money, they'll get a green card in 2 years, period. This is a short window because those lines are also building up for Indians. So I urge all of you to take this golden opportunity to think of that as an option. The second change that this Immigration Reform and Integrity Act, which was passed in 2022, was that it simply fixed the amount of $800,000. And the $800,000 cannot be changed by the US Congress, and it is valid till 2027. So they cannot increase that amount. It's grandfathered. The third change, which is equally interesting, is that it changed the process by saying those who are in the US on any visa, student visa, or they're on an H1 visa, L1 visa, any of them are able to apply for a change of status in the US itself. So when you apply for a change of status in the US, along with the petition that you file with $800,000 to invest, you get all the rights of a green card holder except you don't have a green card. And those rights include, but not limited to, getting a work authorization which is universal in its nature, which means you can work anywhere you like. You are not confined to work for one employer in a particular field, or you are not even required to work for an employer. You can start your own startup, you can start your own company, and start taking advantage of all the opportunities that US offers, US economy offers. That is a phenomenal change. The other change they did was that you are also able to get what is called as an advance parole. The advance parole enables you to travel back and forth without ever going to the US consulate. You all know what a nightmare it is to go through the consulate with long lines. So that too, you are able to overcome if you are in the US on any kind of non-immigrant visa. So if you begin to see the EB5 program, it has opened up this phenomenal opportunity for Indians, parents whose kids are going to school there, parents who want to send their kids to the US, or parents themselves who want to move. In all of these categories, you are able to get all the benefits right away. And there is an end, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. In 2 years or so, you get the green card itself. What else changed about it? They also created some fundamentally robust institutional regulatory standards for the regional centers, so that they are subject to multiple audits, the regional centers. Not only the regional center has to be approved, each project has to be approved. And each project will be subject to audits, unspecified site visits. So the regulatory framework that they've given for the regional centers is so tight that it is very difficult to pass through that. So what happens to your $800,000? Your $800,000 is an investment you are making. You are taking some degree of risk, but in about 4 to 6 year time frame, you get the money back. It's an investment. And the only cost you are really incurring is the opportunity cost of parking that money in a regional center with a very low rate of return, 1%. But I tell people you shouldn't consider the CB5 investment from the perspective of a regular investor. You can't wear these two hats and constantly be in a state of confusion. Your primary goal why you are entering the EB5 program is basically to get a green card and to get a green card quickly. The rate of return should not be calculated in a simple way of saying, here is the rate of return, here is the present value of what I'm investing and so on. It should be calculated on a much more composite index. You're opening opportunities. Your kids are able to work there. You're able to establish your family. Even if there is a Citizenship Act that gets amended, children born to permanent residents will become US citizens, even under change regulation, which I don't think which is even going to come to see the light of the day. But even if it happens, it's not going to happen. What is the difference between the EB5 program and the golden visa card that the president spoke about? In the golden visa card, you give $5 million and it's not an investment. It's the money you pay to get your green card. And you get your green card and your income is not subject to worldwide taxes. The benefit of the golden visa card is for those with high net worth who just want to start businesses in the US. This program has been tried in many countries, in Europe and other countries, largely not very successful. The registration process is started for the lottery, for the gold visa card in the US, but no implementation regulations have been announced. So the gist of what I'm here to tell you is, look at all these visa categories. It's not a substitute for all of them, but it enriches your ability to get into whatever you're doing, including going to school, coming to the US, taking advantage of all the non-immigrant visas, but gives you a very predictable pathway to get a green card. I'll close my comments with that and take questions. Thank you.
You have your mic, right?
Yes.
You have, sir? You want a mic?
No. I'm very comfortable. I think I'll
can
pull
read
a
or-
little farther. No. We should move a little farther from each other. It echoes.
Sir, thank you so much. You started off with F1 and then with L1, with H1B, telling the nuances of do's and don'ts of all these categories, moving on to your way forward with EB5, and another one that you spoke about is the golden visa. I'll start with one or two questions. Some of the questions that are asked will come on the board. However, I'll read it out for you. What are some overlooked opportunities in Tier 2 or smaller universities in the US?
It's an interesting question. There has been a growth of Indian students going to schools in top Tier 2 schools. What is a Tier 2 school to begin with? Because all educational institutions are pretty good in the US, unless you are talking about an Ivy League.
Yeah.
Your admission to this program gives you the skills that are necessary. And if you get a master's degree, other than giving you an entry through the door faster if you are from top Tier 1 school, does not carry any particular benefit. It is the field that you study which matters and the skills that you learn that matter.
So it's fine with the Tier 2?
Yes.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable with the skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there is also
I'll
a
get
difference.
closer, but I want this to be away so that I can read.
Yeah, there is also
Yeah.
Yeah, having said that, we must also recognize, just like in India, there are a lot of schools, and you want to make sure that you get admission in accredited schools. There has been a phenomenal growth of schools which are not particularly accredited. I would like to alert students applying for it to make sure your school is accredited. And there are a lot of programs where you get easily admission, but these schools may not be accredited. It poses a lot of problems in the future. If, for example, a school is accredited, but then it loses its accreditation, then you lose your OPT opportunities and you're not able to get an H1 based on that qualification. So I've run into a lot of students with that kind of problem. So by and large, the Indian students attend mostly accredited good schools.
Yeah. You have another question?
What are the common cultural...
1 minute. That's okay, that's okay. How can students effectively balance academics, part-time work, and social life in the US?
This is a question that I saw a previous question. Both of them are important. How do you adjust culturally? You know, I believe, Mr. Siva Kumar, it's my belief that there is a global culture that is emerging. And the global culture has people with shared values. The gap between somebody who is in the US and who studies in school there is not the kind of gap that I used to see when I first went to school, to attend school in the US. So therefore, there is a common culture, that is the first part of it, making this cultural adjustment much easier than before. Each school offers orientation programs. Where I'm really concerned for Indian students is to understand that they are guests at the US universities. They have limitations in terms of some of the discretionary challenges that they get involved in. And I'll give you some examples which have come into place in the recent past. If you really are stopped for drunk driving, you are arrested. And if you go through drunk driving and you don't stop and you just evade and leave that place, it's called as hit and run. It's a felony. So you are now escalating issues that come out of DUI, driving under the influence. Indians who are subject to it now, automatically their visa is cancelled, the entry visa. And in the US, they can continue to stay, but in 4 years when you go there, with the upper limit now being prescribed, you are going to get evaluated to see whether you are a person of good moral character. The other issue which really a lot of people have heard, isolated as it may be, but it still is an issue, which is that if you are making comments in the social media that are considered to be contrary to the usual US self-interest, national interest, which is defined in a broad discretionary brush, if I may, then you get into some issues when they go up to the immigration and they start challenging. And also when you leave the country, you get into similar challenges. I'll tell you a story that I'm dealing with right now. Just before I came, one day before, there was a family on an H1B. The father was in the US on an H1. The wife was on H4. The daughter was on an H4. And a 17-year-old son was also on an H4. They admitted the mother and they admitted the daughter, but they questioned the son for a long time and they removed him from the US with the inability to come for 5 years. How did that happen? Because apparently in a high school magazine, he made comments which were quite, I had an opportunity to look at the comments, which were quite controversial. So what is my advice to Indian students? My advice to you is think. Don't try to walk into troubled waters when it is not necessary. Your goal is to pursue your education first. And in the process, you are allowed to express your opinion, which are based on sound principles, maturity, not wade into the waters of local politics or international politics. It's easily said than done, but at the end of the day, US gives the right to speech, and it is guaranteed by the First Amendment in the US Constitution. Sooner or later, like I said, you take a long-term perspective, in time all this will settle down.
Yeah, we'll move on. What mental health resources and support systems should students be aware of on US campuses? I think you've answered. Mental health resources is something that.
This is a very important question, that question about mental issues, because many students are not subject to the kind of pressures in the US. Now we are competing at the world theater. It is no longer confined to some local competition. Unless you are from premier institutions like the MITs, you are going to be facing competition of a type and nature that you've never seen before. It starts with academic pressure to get good grades, because that is a stepping stone for the next stage. So with all these pressures building up, automatically it percolates into some degree of drinking, or it goes into areas where they become unstable in their relationships. They come to the US and they start making relationship with US partners in some ways. And these relationships are viewed differently. In the US, a lot of them are excited to see international students. And that excitement should not be misperceived to be some kind of a relationship that they want to have with you. So they've got to understand these cultural nuances. And mental health facilities are available on every campus now. Whenever there is a major episode, there are counselors that are made available immediately for the students, and many of them are trained in multi-ethnic, multicultural environments where the mental issues have to be treated differently and separately. So mental issues are a challenge. They're a function, just like in India, they're a function of excessive competition, they're a function of stresses in life, they're a function of being away from their families. They have not been used to living such an independent life in the US, on and on. No different than Indian students, who go to schools in other states here.
The next question that we have is about the job market in the US. How has it evolved for international graduates in recent years? You touched when you.
Yeah, the US job market. First of all, when you look at the US job market, you have to look at the economy itself. The economy itself is subject to multiple fluctuations. So you have to know that whenever there is stress on the economics of a country, on the financial and employment situation and so on in the US, one of the casualties is a lot of people get laid off. For domestic students, it's not a big issue. But for international students, how do you stay there? In the recent past, I've seen en masse layoff. You're in the middle of your H1. Where do you go? Now you are controlled by timeline. So you are going to be impacted much more severely than the local citizens. So you have to be prepared for all this. But then Indian students, their greatest asset is they are very smart, if I may, and they are very highly skilled in technical areas. There is no question in my mind that Indian students compete at an extraordinary level. And their future is guaranteed because at the end of the day, American system is a meritocracy, where if you really speak, where you really think, and you show your creativity, your originality, your skill level, you are likely to flourish.
It's wonderful to hear this comment about our youngsters, and wonderful because of two reasons. One, our youngsters. The second, are teachers who made them. I'm talking about the teachers who use the black and white, either the white board with a black marker or the black board with a white chalk piece. They made colorful students. So, our teachers made colorful students. So I'm saying, heartening to note that you're very happy about the Indian students who come
No,
there, so much of talent.
Indian students are a vibrant community. I had the opportunity to work for 17 years at USC, which is the largest private university west of Mississippi. And the school has almost about 500,000 workers coming every day. And Indian students should be very proud. Even if you look at their contribution, Indian students, but with tuition alone, every year, by many reliable reports, bring about $20 billion to the US economy. And if you really look at what else they do, they create employment. And they create employment for roughly about 350,000 employees, US citizens, who are getting jobs. And the economy itself is believed to benefit almost about 40 billion. So Indian students are an asset to institutions in the US. We should look at it the other way. I mean, our students are an asset in terms of the finances they bring, with the smart that they bring, with skills that they bring, and with the vision they have, and most of all, the work ethic they have. They work hard. It is hard work that pays off. Our students compete. They are bright minds. I'm very proud when I'm
Very
in the
happy,
US.
sir.
I'm very proud when I'm in the US to call myself an Indian.
Our teachers teach two kinds of students. One very intelligent who can migrate, and the rest who can compete here without much of competition. You know, I'm just joking. The question that I'd like to ask you, away from this, because most of them are towards OPT and things like that, a little bit on the EB5.
Please.
Yeah. Now, EB5 is an investment-based green card. Now, can a father sponsor a EB5 for a boy who's 18 years, who's studying in India?
The answer to that question is yes. 18 years is considered to be an age if somebody comes of age.
Yeah.
So you can apply, and many people are applying. You know, one of the misnomers is to think that the funds should necessarily come from India. The resources can come from anywhere. For example, a lot of H-1B holders, they have built their equity there, they have homes there, and they can take a loan against their own equity. And they also have stock options. Many Indians are flourishing in the area of stock options. They cash in the stock options and they have wealth of their own. And they're saying that this is a good opportunity for me. They were divesting that wealth and investing in an EB5 program to get to get their green card quickly.
So, investment for an individual in the US is possible with his own income. And he need not create employment. That's taken care by the government.
By the regional center.
By the regional center.
You are a passive investor. You become a general partner in a given project. These projects are usually infrastructure oriented. And when you do that, you don't have to really participate in anything other than to make sure that you're in the US and using that opportunity to grow. And in about 4 to 5, 6 years, you get an opportunity to divest your interest and get your money back.
You've also touched upon O1, right?
Yes.
Does O1 lead to EB2?
O1 is a non-immigrant visa.
Non-immigrant is okay.
EB2 is an immigrant visa. So one is a temporary ability to stay in the US, and the other is to stay permanently in the US. These are two different.
Yeah, but O1 is based on talent.
There is an EB1 that comes out of the O1, which is for aliens of extraordinary ability.
Talent.
And we do a lot of those for people in sciences, in business, in arts. And many of them get through the EB1. We do a lot of those EB1s. And many entertainers, for example, use that way of really getting a green card very quickly. If somebody is a good musician in Indian arts, I've done for a lot of tabla players. I've done for people who come and do Katha Kalakshepam there. I'm able to get them because they're phenomenal, some of them. Or for some violinists who are extraordinary. These are my own clients I'm talking about.
Lovely.
Or a pop singer in the Hindi heartland. Any of them, because of their achievements, I'm able to get them under the EB1A. As opposed to that, there is an EB1B for entertainers, and then there is an EB1C. EB1C is for people who come on an intercompany transfer on an L1, and they have a pathway to get to the green card quicker in 5 to 6 years.
Any question from the audience? Yeah. From here? Oh, you already done, is it? Okay. Can I take this question? What are the most accessible scholarship opportunities for Indian students, especially at the postgraduate level?
You know, it's got to be viewed in the context of what you're authorized to do in the US. So you get the OPT, for example, for a period of 1 year initially, upon your graduation. You can choose that and use it before your graduation if you wish to, during your summer break, to pursue an internship. Except that you must realize that the 3 months lost is 3 months lost at the end of it. There is another opportunity which is called as the curricular practical training. If you get something, an opportunity for an internship that is an integral part of your studies, or a course without which you cannot, without working, you cannot get your degree, then it comes under the curricular practical training. Many of them pursue, and if you pursue curricular practical training for less than 1 year, it doesn't cost you anything in terms of the postgraduate. So there are many opportunities. One last thing is that you can also get a work authorization in the US if your financial circumstances unexpectedly change. For example, somebody who comes to the US, the father, the main breadwinner, passes away. We are able to get them a work authorization to continue their study. So the work authorization comes in many forms. My best advice I can give is go talk to the foreign student advisor in your school and they'll guide you.
Are there external organizations or foundations that Indian students can approach for scholarship beyond university funding?
First of all, let's look at where most of the funding comes from. Our graduate student funding comes from research assistantships and teaching assistantships. So many of the students who come there, they get this teaching assistantship, particularly if they're in the PhD program. So therefore, that is one way they're able to get the scholarship. Another is they're able to apply for some scholarship, but very limited, because most of the financial aid is limited to US citizens. So you can't invoke any of those scholarships because they're meant only for people who are permanent residents or US citizens. So you cannot. So in terms of scholarship, they're limited, but our students are ingenious. They find ways to find job opportunities. They use curricular practical training, off-campus employment. One thing that I'm going to alert Indian students is that do not work without authorization. If you work without authorization because somebody tells you it's okay, don't listen to them, because now you lose your opportunity altogether. So unauthorized employment in the US is a major challenge because the temptation is high for many of our students to go and take up some jobs in a restaurant, for example, just to get some money. Now, of course, we have all heard about the raids, that are happening in employment places. So you can't get engaged. You're sacrificing your entire future by trying to get some short-term gain. So I'll alert Indian students, do not engage in unauthorized employment if you want to have a future in the US.
Another interesting question is, hi sir, thank you for the address. I'm 26-year-old and equity analyst and worked with the US sell-side analysts and C-suite executives. I'm considering MBA, but I'm scared of the uncertainty. Any opinion?
Well, I myself have an MBA from UCLA, albeit long time ago. But US educational institutions of higher education in particular, they offer the best education that you can get in any country, without a question. The skills that you learn in US by pursuing a master's degree in business administration, master's degree in mechanical engineering. They have currency in rest of the world. For example, if you get a job, if you get a degree from a US university, you command higher wages in most of the Middle East, in other countries. So US education has a premium. And getting a US degree is a phenomenal asset that you should acquire, both in terms of skills you learn and your ability to market yourself in the future. Third, if you get a degree in the US and in the process you establish a company in the US, the company address being in the US itself gives you an opportunities that can't even be measured. I mean, I've seen students do many of these things as they pursue their careers in the US.
One last question. What group captain? Yeah. My son just completed post-graduation, not my son, just completed post-graduation degree, MS Mechanical in Germany. Any further future career possibility at the USA, or he has to study furthermore at US?
You know, it depends on when you are entering the market. If you are entering the US market at this time, I think that the situation is a little unsteady right now. But in Europe, you know, many students go to Germany and find jobs there. And Indian population has really grown in all of these parts. So whether you go to Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Middle East, Indians are all over the place. By getting a degree in the US, you improve your chances, basically. And you should continue to do that. How to prep for visa interview?
Visa interview or a performer going to a US, as a performer going to the US?
If you are coming as a performer, how should you do it? Who is a performer? I am also a performer today. But I guess that they are talking about a performer in arts. Is that question? I think it makes sense. If you are coming as a Bharatanatyam artist, or if you are coming as an vocalist to sing, or you are coming there to play tabla, there is a specific visa category called the P3, which is called the culturally unique visa. So when you come in that visa category, you must have specific contracts and specific places that you're going to perform. And you got to furnish all of this. And it's easy to get the P3 visa. When you go for the interview preparation, my only advice is your skill speaks for itself. I've seen some Indians who went. Sometimes, you know, what they do, they come in groups. They can come also in one. If your principal person is an extraordinary talented guy, then a lot of people come along with them. And sometimes they try to accommodate people with less talent, just because they are known to them. This is where they get in trouble. I've had people who went to consulates and they said they're tabla players. They took them to the back and gave them a tabla and told them to play the tabla. I've had a chef, believe me or not, I had a chef who I sent for an interview, and they said, fantastic, come to the back. They gave him all the vegetables. They said, you claim that you make very good samosas, please be our guest. So they're able to literally use methods that you don't think of. And you get caught in one of that, your future is finished.
Yeah, Group Captain? You have someone? No. He has a closing remark. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Truly, I must tell you that this 1 hour, I think we can give him a standing ovation. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So truly, I must admit that the last 1 hour, you've clarified many things for me, for everybody who attended, and many of the students who aspire to come there. And one clarity that you gave is the need to look at EB5 as a visa option instead of going to a cardiologist too often to find out if your child is going to get the EB5, the visa. So if you want your heartbeat to be controlled, then better to go through the EB5 way. And he also made it clear that the investment that you make may come back with a smaller return, or at least you can be happy that you created some US employment. So thank you so much, sir. And
I'll make a few closing
yeah,
comments.
I'm going to give it to you. And whenever you're here in Chennai again, please let us know, and we'll be happy to have you here.
The person who will know always is my friend Ranjani.
Yeah,
when I
please.
come here.
And over to you for the remarks that you want to make.
You know, one of the questions people ask me is, what is your background? How did you go to the US? What did you do in the US? Why do you think US is a destination for us, particularly at this time? You know, I went on a Rotary scholarship to the US, like you mentioned, and I served as an unofficial ambassador speaking at multiple Rotary clubs when I initially went there. And I went in the wake of the emergency at that time in India. And I had very difficult time defending our democracy. That being said, from the beginning, what was important for me was my identity. The core of my identity is something that I was not willing to compromise. And that core identity of mine was developed in India. It is the Indian value system. It is the family unit. These are the things that inspired me. So the American dream is alive. The Indian dream was alive. I was allowed to dream big in India. I went and joined US and to dream big. So I went to school, got my MBA, which is unheard of. I decided to go to law school. People used to go to engineering school. People used to do MBA, or they used to come as doctors. But I was one of those who was a pioneer. I was the first guy who actually went to law school in the US itself. And how did I really, what do I think is that core identity of mine? One is hard work. For those youngsters, there is no substitute for hard work in this world. Hang your head down and work hard. The second value that I brought was that I decided from the beginning, my parents taught this to me, is that don't do anything that will create fear in you. With the result that I decided to conduct myself in such a way that I took the fear factor out of my life. I can speak here, I can speak at the Malibu Hindu temple of which I am a trustee, I can speak at a Rotary club, or I can be litigating a case with Department of Homeland Security in the highest courts in the US. But I am not fearful. I stand on my ground. My ground is my karma bhumi, as I call it, and I pursue that. The third value that I learned is win. Winning is a way of life. If you don't learn how to win, you learn how to lose. Simple. So I used to tell my wife very fondly that one time I lose, you will say it's okay. Twice I lose, you say maybe something is wrong. And the third time you will start thinking, even if you don't say it to me, that I have a loser for a husband. Even your own wife or your children, they are watching you. If you fail, they will think that you are a loser. We have a father who is a loser. So I've never accepted the concept of losing. So I fight to win, and that's easily said than done. For example, every single case I filed in the US thus far, in a 30 plus years, I have not lost a single case. I have won each case. My ethical practice, there's not a single time that I was in a situation where I had to feel I've compromised something in terms of my integrity. My integrity is my heart and soul. So you can talk to me or talk to any number of people about me. They will say the same thing about me. because I will not compromise that. Further, when you are dealing with immigration law, for example, I am very clear about that I have to zealously advocate my clients, regardless. And I do that. And I do that with a certain passion when I zealously advocate for my people. I used to say always, when I was a kid, I used to play chess quite a bit. And dealing with immigration or anything that we launch as a lawyer, for me, was like, it's like a chess player. They have their assets, you have your assets. So I figured out, as a part of this thinking process on a timeline, that somehow I know all the 99 ways in which immigration will try to reject this case. I mastered the art. With the result, my results speak for itself, because I say checkmate and it's over for me. So I play the game as a smart lawyer because I have to for survival. And I have for my clients. The most important of all is I don't do this to make money. Making wealth was never my goal. Making wealth will happen automatically. But therefore, I always said to myself, as a matter of my practice, that I will never take advantage of people who come to me, who are very fragile, who are in a state where they're very weak. I shall not ever exploit that. I will not. These are the values that I learned from India. These are the values I learned from my father, from my mother. My father used to be a banker. He used to say, if you put your hand out and take money from somebody, your responsibility begins. Don't take the money. But once you take the money, you better get the job done. So these Indian values, cultivated, curated through my own effort over a long period of time, has stood me in good stead, and it will do the same thing for the students who come to the US or they stay in India. Welcome to the US, work hard, sky is the limit. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's, the end is really a masterclass in management, actually. We came to listen to attorney, but we got listen to one of the professors from MIT or Harvard. Thank you, sir. I think your words of wisdom is really very, very useful. When you mentioned so many Indians are doing extremely well, I think today in newspaper you must have read Trump invited for dinner. Out of 14 top 5 Indian CEOs are there at the dinner at the White House. So that's what we are doing there. So I think everything will, we think. Thank you once again. Big round of applause to and to both the Kumars. And Mr. Kumar, thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time. I now request Ranjani to also come on stage. But Dr. Vatsala, please come. We want to give you a book, something for you to read on the way. It's a lovely book and you really enjoy it. Please come and do the honor to present the committee. Come, sir. Come. This is our MMA publication. You can give to him, and Shukma, you can give to also. Come.
Let me take a picture.
Book published by MMA, authored by, like it,